car says minus 19, but the weather app says minus 27. I'm gonna head into Yellowstone today and see if we can find some frosty bison or hopefully some wolves. But first things first, I gotta see if this car will even start. So every other time I've been in this kind of weather, I've been at home and hadn't needed to go outside. So this is the first time I'm out when it's minus 30, minus 40. Last year it was minus 50 Fahrenheit. So we'll see how long you can last outside, but it's usually just a few minutes at a time, and then your fingers start to go. Any bit of exposed skin, if it's minus 40, you're gonna get frostbite 5-10 minutes. A lot of things just don't work electronics wise, so cameras get slow, batteries don't have nearly as much life down this temperature. So I just stopped here to film the hot springs a bit, and we have another cold problem. Window roll up. It starts to go up a little bit and then just puts itself all the way back down. So we'll see if we can get this up. Otherwise it's going to be a very cold drive. So I ended up sitting there for a painfully long time trying to get the window to go back up. I had to have the heat on full blast until something in there that was frozen kind of thawed itself out. So I've been driving around most of the morning and haven't seen much of anything, save for a few bison, one coyote that left the road pretty quickly. So I took a little walk down to the river edge here. Sometimes we get coyotes out here, and the other day there were bison. That doesn't look like much today. So I hiked out there for not even 10 minutes. It's still minus 18 degrees at 12 o'clock. My heated gloves were not even cutting it out there. So bright and sunny. Have to have sunglasses, but with the face mask on, sunglasses fog up immediately. If you take your face mask off, then your nose freezes. So I just had to come back in the car, and we'll keep going from the road. So I drove down the road a little bit. I saw some people scoping for wolves, quite a lot of people, which means something was there or they're hoping for something. So I parked a couple pullouts down and just started looking out across. We're in the middle of Lamar Valley, and I heard some ravens at first and then saw them flying finally. So I found a fresh carcass, it looks like. There was one coyote on it when I saw, and then I guess we'll sit here for a bit and see if anything else comes by. The light is terrible right now, so seeing anything that far, there's going to be a lot of heat waves. There's not really any clouds in the sky, so I don't think that's going to change for a few hours, but maybe we'll get lucky. So you can clearly see the heat waves here are really bad. It's partially a problem of the hot air coming out of the car and being so cold outside. There's at least an 80-degree difference in temperature, but it's also a really common problem. Anytime you have the sun out, you get evaporation and heat differences in different surfaces, and it just creates this water-like effect. Regardless, it was still pretty cool to watch these two coyotes interact over the carcass. So I ended up not seeing too much the rest of the day. just kind of headed back into town. It was super cold and animals just weren't really active or near the road at least. So the rest of the video is gonna take you through the next week in the park where the wildlife activity definitely started picking up. So today I was out on my own, but the next 5 days I'll have 3 clients in my workshop Monday through Friday, so they would be treated to some really cool things coming up. So we stopped by the same carcass out in Lamar Valley that I saw the coyotes on a couple days before, and even though it was far away, we were able to see this black wolf, who is apparently a young female that was maybe kicked out, I'm not sure, from the Junction Butte pack, but she's been alone. We ended the first day in the park with some really cool light reflecting on the Yellowstone River, plus all these big chunks of ice floating down the river from the cold temperatures the days before. It was surprisingly still flowing pretty well today, but it would definitely freeze up over the next few days even more. The next morning started off with an incredible sunrise with a herd of cow elk just outside of the town of Gardner. The shooting in situations like this can be kind of tough because the sky is so bright with the foreground is still in really deep shadow. So you can use some kind of HDR techniques if you want, or just pick one or the other to get the ideal exposure. Fortunately, in the video I can export the photos in real HDR and they should show up in full HDR, as long as you have a relatively new iPhone or Android or MacBook. We had several good coyote encounters throughout the week, but this is the best one that I was able to get a picture of. The carcass in Lamar Valley still had some good activity, and we found a different wolf on it this day. Still pretty far away. We also stopped at Undine Falls on the way back into Mammoth, which was completely frozen over from top to bottom. Later into the week, our luck definitely changed, coming across this beaver that was very active along the frozen Lamar River here. So he or she was gathering willows for quite a while, half an hour to an hour, bringing them down from the upper parts of the creek where there's a lot of willows, and bringing them all the way down here to where there was a hole in the ice. So she may have a lodge or something under there, so she would come all the way down, slide into the hole, come up out another hole without the willows, so she's definitely leaving them somewhere down under there. After spending quite a bit of time with the beaver, we were pretty much ready to go see what else we could find. But as it often goes with things like that, we ended up not finding anything else. And we drove around the park a little bit through Lamar Valley, but just no luck. So we decided to follow a lead on a couple otters that were seen the day before, and we ended up actually seeing the 2 otters coming out of the ice. They were not moving around a whole lot, they just kept coming in and out of this one hole. There was one mom and probably a pup otter, so they were, I guess, content where they were hanging out, but it was good to see them, because I haven't seen an otter since last April. Next morning started off great with these 2 bull elk grazing in the snow and a really cool color coming out of the sunrise. One of the 2 elk here was the one known as 24 that often hangs around Mammoth Hot Springs in the fall. But he was down in the brush, so we were fortunate to get this other bull. He might be a little bit bigger, but he came up over the hill here and came out really good in the open. Later into the morning and quite a bit farther into the park, our wolf luck finally changed for the better. We had a pretty close encounter, maybe 150 to 200 yards with this black wolf. And it's believed to be the same black wolf that was feeding on the carcass from the farther away video earlier. And she treated us to some good howls, which were kind of hard to hear, but you could definitely see. We had some problems with the heat waves for part of the encounter, but we definitely got a couple good shots as she was walking by. We had some good encounters with the bighorn sheep throughout the week, but it's just not something I like to photograph all that much. I see them so often, I kind of want to get a better shot. I envisioned something better here, but it just didn't quite pan out as I hoped with all the heads down, and then there was fence poles in the way, but it's kind of cool to get them in front of the mountain like that. We finished off the week with a herd of bison in Lamar Valley that were pretty close to the road. But the cool thing about this encounter was their steamy breath. It wasn't even that cold that day, but something with the temperature and the humidity and the lack of wind helps really emphasize the steam coming out. I'll be back in the north of Yellowstone in about a week for another 1-week workshop, so if you'd like to see more videos like this, definitely like and subscribe and you'll get notified when I post another one.